Hey, Darren, good to see you're able to check in tonight. Are you on your iPad or are you on your laptop this time? Okay, very good, Grant. Well, we'll mark you down the log as being here and checking in. Good luck with the landscaping. Well, she hasn't seen what I look like otherwise, Gary. How would she know? And 10 seconds to take off. Good evening, everybody. This is Laird, VE3LKS, and I'd like to welcome you to the COVID-19 Rag Chew, Week 11, Tuesday night edition. Another beautiful day out there. Can't complain. Nice and hot. And grass is growing like crazy after fertilizing it on the weekend and having all that rain. Oh, man, look at this. Why am I getting that light? Oh, it's coming over my shoulder. That's coming from outside. So, yes, it does look like I'm being shone upon from heaven, but that's just the blind up behind me. Anyways, I will take a short standby. And just let me get my spreadsheet ready, and we'll start taking check-ins. And I think I'm ready to go. So anyone wanting to check in, now's your opportunity.
Victor Alpha 3 Delta Charlie Echo. Victor Echo 3 Papa Whiskey Juliet.
VA3 Romeo Tango Victor.
VA3 VTQ.
Victor Echo 3 Kilowatt Zulu Tango.
Sierra. Victor Echo 3 Victor Golf Juliet.
V3 HIX.
V3 RPN.
V3 IPX.
Okay, I'll tell you what I've heard so far. I've heard Doug, VA3DCE, Peter, VE3PWJ, Jeffrey, VA3RTV, Jackie, VA3BTQ, John, VE3KZT, Steve, VA3TPS, Joe, VE3VGJ, Bob, VE3HIX, Scott, VE3RPN, and Cam, VE3IGX. And I know there may have been one or two doubles in there. So if I missed anybody, and come now, please.
V3 IRB.
Okay, I acknowledge VE3IRB Robert. Good evening, everybody. And online, let's see, we have Darren's checked in online, NMD. He's checking in from Montreal. We have Grant. He's just, he can't be on the radio tonight, but he is, he's got a landscaper, I guess, coming to give him a quote. So he's got to be out with that. Gary Zed's on, and so is Jeff. So we got a good crowd started here tonight, and then had an email today, or was it today? I guess it was early this morning, from someone who said that maybe a good topic for tonight would be your favorite dish that Mom made growing up. that you enjoyed a lot. And so maybe what we'll do is we'll sort of expand just slightly on that. The first go around, you can tell us what your favorite dish was as a main course or a meal. And then the second time around, you can tell us what your favorite homemade dessert was that Mom made. And, try to get more creative than, a scoop of ice cream in a bowl. But with that, we will go back up to the top to Doug, VA3 DCE. Good evening.
Good evening, Laird. It's good to see you today. You're looking well tonight. Waiting for the reveal. I don't know whether you want us to whistle, hum, or whatever while you perform for us, but favorite dish, once a month, not more, liver and bacon. I said liver and bacon just for Joe and a few others that don't like liver much. As long as it doesn't come more than once a month, liver's on the list. Okay, back to you, Laird.
Joe, Joe checked in. Joe, do you want to relay to the group what I emailed to you this morning?
Something about being hit or something if someone mentioned liver. I forget the exact wording. I'm not saying it.
Yes, I said I would give the radio equivalent of a punch to the throat for anybody who mentioned that they like liver. There's no way you can like liver as a kid. No way. It's impossible. Anyways, very good, Doug. I guess the first one off the list, and we'll just tap you on the throat there with the microphone. VE3 PWJ, Peter.
Yeah, Mom, I can remember Mom made lots of neat dishes when we were kids, and there was one that was made with tomatoes and a few other ingredients in it, and I could never get the name of it because Mom's passed away since. But we were over to a wedding in Michigan, and they did something like that for their supper they had there, and I should have asked them, but that's the way it goes, I guess. But we used to have all kinds of things. We used to have rabbits. My cousin did a lot of rabbit hunting and get things like that, but we've never had anything like that since. We'll get lots more beans there, and good evening to everybody.
Okay, so what was in the dish along with the tomatoes?
I can't remember that. That's the worst part of it. And Dinah and I have been trying to go through all Mom's cookbooks here, and we've never come up with it. And she's got tons of stuff here. One of those mysteries of life, I guess, Laird.
Okay, well, maybe it's one of those ethnic type dishes. So you may want to check back into the family heritage and see if you can come up with anything that way. It'd be interesting to know. VA3 RTV.
Yes, good evening, Laird. And I see that you're clean shaven, so there's $5 worth right there. So my favourite meal, which was very rare, that my mum used to make, was called toad in the hole. If you know what that is, fine. If not, I'll explain that. And the reason why I liked it so much is that every other day I had dried bread and water. Back to you.
Okay, so what was this thing called, and what was it comprised of?
Okay, so toad in the hole is basically Yorkshire pudding with sausages, and the sausages weren't the sausages that you get in Canada. They were called beef chipolatas, and when she would cook the sausages, they would kind of explode and have a crusty end. And if anyone is listening that has experienced that, they'll know exactly what I mean. But in any case, it was a real treat. My mum really was just okay at cooking, and we really didn't usually get very much on the plate. So we were grateful for anything. Back to you.
Okay, very good. Yes, I like Yorkshire pudding. I used to make it a long, long time ago, and now I can't even find a good recipe. I'll have to look into that again. And that seems to be quite popular with the British Isles cooking. Very good, Jeffrey. Well, thanks for explaining that to us. And VE3 KZT, John.
Good evening, young fella. You look 20 years younger with that beard on, and my favorite dish, if you don't like liver, you probably won't like this. Growing up on the farm in the 40s and the 50s, being a farming community with lots of porkers running around with pickled pig feet. So how about that? The E3KZT.
Okay. You wouldn't think there'd be much meat on a pig's foot, but I guess I've never had it myself, but I'll take your word for it. Man, you guys got some strange stuff going on here tonight for your favorite dishes. And I see Lois is on. Oh, she likes liver too. What in Sam Hills is going on? As kids, you like liver. Something's wrong with you people. And yes, I said you people. Let's see. VA3 TPS Steve, please, please, please have something like craft dinner and hot dogs or something.
Okay, good evening, Laird, and to everybody on the frequency. Frozen penguin? Oh my gosh. Anyways, no. Well, we used to have roast beef for Sunday dinner once every month or so when we could afford it, or back then, and the roast beef was okay, but my mom used to make shepherd's pie out of the leftover roast beef for the Monday dinner, and that I just loved.
Ding, 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 ding. We have a winner. Yes, and that's exactly what I was going to say I like too, is shepherd's pie. And it was the exact same thing. The leftover roast beef, Mom would always get a bit bigger roast beef than what we needed for a meal. And then she would chop up the roast beef and potatoes and carrots and onions and make a gravy. And she had a huge, it was like a Corelle bowl, but I don't think it was Corelle. And it was deep too. And it was glass. And she would put all the stew part in the bottom. And then she would cover it with like a biscuit type topping. And so the whole top of the dish, which was about 12 inches across, if maybe 14 inches across, would be nothing but one huge biscuit when it was done. It would be about 2 inches thick. So when you got your serving of stew, your shepherd's pie, you also got the serving of biscuit, and you would turn it over and put butter on it, and it was really good. Did you have a similar topping on yours, Steve?
No, she did it the traditional way with just the potatoes and some cheese, a bit of cheese on top. And we used to use the old meat grinder. That was my job. I used to get to grind up the leftover roast beef through the meat grinder, attach to my dad's workbench, and into a bowl. And hopefully I didn't miss.
Oh, very good, and sneak a few little tastes here and there along the way. Excellent. Well, see, that's what I would classify as a good dinner, and I agree with you there. Let's see who's next. Joe VE3 VGJ.
Good evening, Laird, and everybody on frequency. Well, I've got two things here. One was at lunchtime. Mom every once in a while made homemade macaroni and cheese and baked it in the oven. And I can always remember coming back from school. We used to walk to and from school there, especially in the winter. And I just love the crust on top of the cheese that was browned a bit. That was something that's funny, always sticks in your memory. And for dinner, we'd have it occasionally on a Sunday around the dining room table, was roast beef, mashed potatoes with gravy, and roasted carrots. I love those, and Yorkshire pudding. It's funny how those things stick in your mind. That's a meal I still like today. Back to you.
Okay, well, it sounds like when this COVID thing is over, we'll have to go to Jeffrey's house since he's the resident British Isles member, and he can teach us how to make good pudding again, Yorkshire pudding. To be honest with you, I can't remember how I used to do it, but then that was about 35 years ago, so that's a long time ago. Let's see, VE3 HIX, Bob.
Good evening, Larry. Good evening, everybody. Three different pies of all things stick out in my mind. One for dessert we'll go through next time. But the first one was like a steak and kidney pie, which I still love today. But it was Wasn't exactly the best steak we had, but it was more like beef and kidney. But my dad, being English, loved it, of course, and taught the rest of it to love it. And another unusual one we had, this is down in Kingston area, was onion pie. It was done up to just like like a cherry pie with a crust on top and so forth, but it was onion on the inside. I seem to remember that, and I never had the two of them together, but you'd have the onion pie instead of a vegetable right on the main course on the main plate. It was pretty nice in those days. VE3HIX.
Okay, very good. And I hate to tell you this, guys, I got to step out for a minute or two. I'll tell you who the next three people on the list are. It's if someone can jot down these call signs for me real quick. It's Scott RPN, Cam IGX, and Robert IRB. And I'll be back in just a couple of minutes. If you get to the bottom of the list, just carry on having a little chit chat, and I'll be back. Sorry.
I guess I'm up next there. I know where Laird's going. He's going to get all his roast beef dinners from White Feather Farm that I took home. He's going to grab about a 2-minute bite and come back to the microphone. Anyway, roast beef for our family. Mom was a great cook, and my dad did most of the cooking, but we also love the shepherd's pie, which I make with homemade gravy, none of this canned stuff. Anyway, whoever's next up, grab the list and over to you there, VE3RPN.
Okay, it's Cam VE3IGX, and hello to everyone on the frequency. Baby Laird's getting sick about the liver. I don't know. Anyway, the favorite meal that I always liked Mom used to make was the rabbit pie. And she'd keep the juice that she boiled the rabbit in to pour over the crust to keep it nice and moist. And I'll hand it on back to IRB, Robert.
V3IRB. Well, I always have eaten just about anything and enjoyed it. I'm never picky. One thing I remember that I really haven't eaten since I was a little kid was being at my great-grandmother's, and one of my favorites has always been homemade soup. That's what we would make at home often. But great-grandmother used to make it with dumplings in it, and where you dump, I think it was basically batter right into the soup, and then served it. It was a great big flop of flour, but just something I don't think I've ever eaten since, but just something I remember. Stretching a bit, give Laird time. Desserts. Sometimes we would have rice pudding. It's just basic, simple rice cooking. Rice pudding. Last time we made it, we mixed up cups of flour and or of rice and dry versus wet. We ended up with roasting pans full of rice everywhere. It was quite a mess. But anyways, I'll throw it back to whoever comes next. VE3IRB.
Yeah, Jeffrey here, VA3RTV. Jackie, I don't think you got a turn. You, I think, were just after me. Maybe it's a good time now, if that's okay.
Hi, Jeffrey. Yeah, I think maybe I got forgotten, but that's okay. My favorite meal my mother made, none of us liked cooked fried liver and onions. And she made fried liver and cut it up in small pieces and put a beautiful, smooth cream sauce on top of it. It was to die for. The only type of liver I would ever eat, and still. Over.
Yeah, that was great, Jackie. Are you back yet, Laird? Yeah, if it's okay, Robert, I read your email about the ratchet, and I think, I don't know if you got it yet, but those ratchets take a huge amount of current with that little electric motor. I think you had only 2 cells at 3 volts, but that little motor would probably take anywhere between 5 and 10 amps. So that's the sort of thing that NiCads can handle. My advice is either, if you really like it, put the original batteries, the correct ones, in it, or just don't bother, because you don't want to Mickey Mouse it. Okay, so if you're there, Laird, back to you.
He's not back in the chair yet, BE3HIX. I don't know who's next, but I just wanted to say to Bob, are you still there? VE3IRB, VE3HIX?
VE3IRB, yeah, I'm still here. Back to Jeffrey. I agree with your diagnosis. It's 3 batteries soldered together that were in there, but there's no marking on them about voltages. So I was curious if you had any idea about what 3 batteries I would buy, and I can answer any questions Bob has as well.
Yeah, they're usually about 1.2 volts, and they would have been NiCad, because I think it's an older unit. But I'm going to be honest with you, Robert, I don't think I'd bother, because the cost that you're going to pay for the batteries really need to be spot welded, because of the huge amount of current that little motor takes, especially when you stall a ratchet. It's almost like a dead short across the batteries. So I just think you shouldn't bother, if you want my honest opinion. Back to you.
Yeah, I think you're right. I looked at them; they were all soldered or welded together as it was, and I was wondering how to do that and I realized that a fair amount of current. So I'll just put it on scrap heap. Back to you.
Do you want to go ahead, Bob? That HAX Bob, that is. If you have any comments on Robert's little issue there.
No, Bob, IRB, the HIX here. No, this is a separate thing. I've been reading up on care and feeding of the half-century-old 30L1s. And I would very strongly advise you don't plug it in and turn it on. These things were designed to fit into a nice case to match the S line, and they were invented after the S line was invented. And to do that, they have 4 the 811A tubes, which cost a lot of money if you can find them, and they're on their side, and the elements tend to sag. And if anything touches internally, they're designed to blow a resistor or blow a fusible link or blow a fuse, one of the 2 fuses inside. But if somebody's already replaced those with like a higher wattage resistor, or the fusible link is just a piece of wire if it's too thick, or if the fuses are too big in wattage, it will blow the transformer, which is just unobtainium. So you might, what they suggest doing is to put the 811As in a tube tester, and then tune the tube tester on its side, all different directions, and shake the whole thing and tap it. And that way you test the tubes on their side to see if anything is shorting inside. So just a friendly piece of advice. Please don't turn it on. Go ahead, Bob.
No, good advice. I'll leave it. I've got it sitting on my desk, but at this point, I'll use it for decoration until I can really analyze it. I was concerned, as I think I mentioned to you, just about firing it up without fully know what I'm doing. But I'll definitely leave it till we can sort of take a look at it and give it a troubleshoot. Thanks. Back to you.
RTB?
Go ahead, Jeremy.
Yeah, when I used to use tube testers in England, I agree with you about that, the finals, but I was dealing with PL81s, which is the line output valve there, and they had a similar sort of problem, but you could not check that in a tube tester, and the reason why is that they did not run the tube in in the same conditions as it is in a line output stage. So it's tube testers are not really ideal for high current or voltage regulators like a 6PK4 and things like that. And I don't want to bore you all. Wonder if you're back yet to lead. If you are, back to you.
Okay, very good, guys. Sorry about that. And so I'm assuming that we went through Scott, Cam, and Robert, so I'll have to catch up a bit later on as to what their favorite meals were as kids. And with that, we'll take another round for check-ins. This is Laird, VE3LKS.
VE3RMK.
Okay, I acknowledge VE3RMK. Ken, anybody else? Okay, very good, Ken. The topic of the evening is what was your favorite meal growing up that your mom would make you, or maybe a relative that you really enjoyed a lot? So the first round we'll talk about like the main course, and then the second time around we're going to be talking about desserts. So take it away.
VE3LKS, this is VE3RMK. Thanks, Laird. I only had three favorite meals that my mom made. One was breakfast, lunch, and dinner. But my favorite was something she did, which we called mock duck, which was just a sirloin steak stuffed with stuffing, and it had mustard and ketchup glaze on it. And that was to die for. Over.
Yeah, our moms must have taken the same home ec course in high school because I remember having that as well, and I enjoyed that. A few roasted potatoes beside it, and carrots and onions in a roasting pan, and you had a feast fit for a king. Oh, I totally forgotten about that until you mentioned that, but that's amazing. Okay, as you know, last night I put the challenge out there. We did some fundraising on here, and the deal was that a bunch of guys committed to spending $10 if I cut my hair off really short, and another $5 if I shaved my beard off. So as you can tell by looking at YouTube, the beard is gone. You see it's sort of washed out there, but yeah, it's gone. And so now, just so I can have the pleasure of taking all that money out of your pockets, there's the head. I didn't think it was going to be quite that short, but I guess number one on my beard trimmer is shorter than number one on a normal hair clipper. So it's gone, and I'll be looking forward to receiving all those $10 and $15 donations for the club, and we'll put it towards getting a Zoom an account set up and being able to have Zoom meetings without timing out all the time. And let's see, I guess Ken was the last on the list, so we'll go back up to the top. Doug, VA3, DCE. And I hope Lois likes this, because she was saying she was glad I got rid of the beard, now I got rid of the hair. Take it away, Doug, and your favorite dessert.
Well, first of all, I like the Mohawk better than what I sing now, Laird. I think you should have stayed at the Mohawk. It looked really good. Favorite dessert. You already ruled out my favorite dessert. My favorite dessert was maple walnut ice cream with a dribble of
maple syrup.
Maple syrup on top. The only reason I liked it is because that was the only ice cream we got, because that's the only ice cream my father liked. So if we wanted ice cream, we had maple walnut ice cream. So I did get to enjoy it, and now it's one of my favorites. So I must remember that fondly. I hated it for many years, and I got over that. Back to you, Laird. And it looks pretty good.
Yeah, maybe tomorrow night for the beginning of the Rag Chew on the YouTube station, I'll post one of the pictures. You called it a mohawk. Caleb calls it a Viking cut because him and I like watching that show on TV, The Vikings, and a lot of them had that style of cut too. It's sort of like a mohawk though, but it's interesting. we did the family tree thing or the DNA testing, and it ends up that apparently I got like 6% Norwegian in me, which is Viking. So it fits quite well. So yeah, very good. Maybe I'll use that as the capture for the beginning of the rag chew tomorrow night. VE3 PWJ Peter.
Okay, Roger. Well, Mom was quite the chocoholic, so that's where I get it from. Of course, I like chocolate ice cream with chocolate sauce on it. So that's you asked Scott about that. But we've been going up to Hagen's. The lady up there said, I guess she wants double. So that's where that came from. But chocolate is my favorite ice cream for sure. Laird, over to you.
Yeah, but wasn't there something that people made that you liked too? I know when Doug said the butterscotch ripple and his dad liked it, my dad always had some of that in the freezer as well, but we also had a little bit of vanilla and a little bit of chocolate. And yeah, maple syrup. If you're Canadian, you got to have maple syrup on your ice cream. Very good, Peter. And yeah, ice cream is good, but there's got to be some homemade desserts out there. Do you want to have a second go at that? No, I guess not. Okay, very good. Well, we'll probably have some time left over at the end, so guys can add a few more in if they want. Let's see, VA3RTV.
Yeah, thanks, Laird. And Lois just said to me that she does like your haircut, so that's great. And when I saw your hair, when you revealed it from removing your cap, it reminded me of the time that you were all lined up on parade, all the privates, and the sergeant was going along saying, right, you, haircut, came to Laird and says, hair restored, and carried on. Any case, but my favourite dessert that my mum used to make was steam jam roly-poly. Back to you.
Okay, well, you know what I'm going to say now. You come up with all these great terms. Now you got to describe what that was.
I'm afraid I'm going to have to Google it because it was like suet pudding or something. I don't know. It was a long time ago. But I really can't help you there. But if you really want to know, I will investigate it. But I think it's for the people that have an interest in this can do their own research, I think. With that, back to you.
Okay, very good. I know one of my favorites was something my mom made called lemon snow. And it was basically a lemon jello or a lemon pudding. But then she would separate some eggs, so the whites and the yolks would be separate. And she would beat the yolks in with the pudding as it was cooking, but then she would almost like make a meringue with the whites. And as the pudding was hardened, she would sort of fold that in, and it made this light, fluffy dessert, and it was really good, especially on a hot day. There was nothing better than a big bowl of lemon snow. And the other thing I really liked was she made a fudge called maple cream. And it was maple flavored, and I haven't had anything that tasted like it since. But it was really good. Let's see, VA3 BTQ Jackie.
Hello, everybody. You look good, Laird. By the way, that was something that my mother did. It wasn't called lemon snow, but it was a angel food cake with lemon sauce over top of it, filled with whipped egg whites. It was as light as a feather and absolutely delicious. I don't think I could replicate it even now. Over.
Yeah, it's one of those things, Jackie. I don't think there's a recipe for it. I've got the recipe, but it's one of those things where you've got to see it and feel it, and only the people that can make it can do it, because there's a certain look to it, and there's a certain feel to it, and they know when to add the egg whites. When the pudding loses some of its shine, but not all of it, and that sort of thing. So, yeah, sort of a lost art. But yeah, I love this stuff. Let's see. VE3 KZT John.
Okay, good evening again. Well, my favorite dessert was strawberry rhubarb pie. And that's still my favorite today. I have a whole backyard full of rhubarb, and we just go and get strawberries, and my girl still makes the strawberry rhubarb pie. Enjoy it very much. And the other one that I heard go by here was maple walnut ice cream or maple syrup. Anyway, back to that, the E3KZT.
Yeah, you gotta love the maple walnut with the maple syrup on it, and especially the real stuff, not the Aunt Jemima stuff. I'm talking the real stuff. It's got to be the real stuff. And although stuff's like buying liquid gold nowadays, but still, it's good. And very good, John. That triggered something I was going to say, but now I've forgotten. See what happens when you get old, people? Don't get old. Don't get old. Because you forget what you want to say. Yeah, it'll come back to me when Joe's talking a few people down, and maybe I'll come back to you if I remember. VA3 TPS Steve.
Okay, Larry. Well, very good. Yep, the haircut looks great. A little more glare on the screen now, but oh well. You can always put your hat back on later if it gets real bad, but it looks good. Good job. I guess it'd be a toss-up between a chocolate cake or a lemon meringue pie was the two things that my mom made that my dad and I just loved. So it's kind of be a toss-up between the two of them.
Yeah, lemon meringue. Now, let me tell you, who makes a wicked lemon meringue pie is my mother-in-law. Of course, she's a Southerner, right? And that's all they know how to do is cook really good. Whenever I go down there, I always have to plan on gaining weight. She'll make butter pecan pies. She'll make Mississippi mud pies. She'll make lemon meringue pies. She'll make apple pies, apple cobblers, and that'll just be for one meal. And it's crazy. And John, I know what it was. You said strawberry rhubarb. Yes, and that reminded me. I was outside today taking a bit of a break, and my rhubarb is ready to pick. So I forgot to go out and get it after supper tonight. So tomorrow I'm going to go out and harvest some, and I may just have to have some strawberry rhubarb pie. If I do get one made up, John, I'll definitely save you a slice. Another thing I like to do with rhubarb is stew it. So you cut it into just little chunks, and then you boil it in a pot with just a little bit of water in the bottom, not very much. And you can add a bit of sugar if you like, and it turns it into almost like an applesauce. And then what I like to do is having that cold over ice cream is good. Or for breakfast, I'll take a slice of toast. Toast really good. I hate toast that's sort of soft and yucky. So the toast has got to be nice and crisp. Then you layer it with peanut butter, and I'm not talking about just a skiff. I'm talking about stuff that's going to stick to the roof of your mouth and make your tongue work to get it off, and then pour some rhubarb over that and eat it with a knife and a fork. I love that stuff. Anyways, Joe, VE3 VGJ, I'm getting hungry again.
Yeah, Roger on that. Boy, there's some really good desserts here. Mine, I have a book here where I kept some recipes Mom and my sisters had over the years, but it's not in it. I thought it was, but it was a dessert made with layered graham crackers, and it was like a lemon pudding in the middle. And man, oh man, I always remember that being so good. And the other one was too, Mom would make an apple pie, but the top was like a crisp. And man, you just couldn't beat it. You could never get enough of that. Anyway, those are my sort of desserts that I always really liked. And by the way, you're looking pretty good with the haircut there. As funny as the right neck started there was the glare off the window coming. The sun coming through the window. Now it's gone, and the glare is still there, though. Hi.
Oh, that wasn't glare coming through the window. That was God shining down on me there, Joe. But yeah, that was funny. And yes, just so everyone knows what we're talking about, I did take Caleb, my son, really wanted to take the Viking cut on me, so we did it, and I took some pictures and I sent them to Joe and Doug. But I will let everyone else know. And in case you weren't on the Rag Chew last night, here's what went down. Um, since we didn't have Ham Fest this year, and so we're down a bit of funding, and that for the club, I volunteered that if enough guys threw in $10, that I would take my hair right down to the number one on the Clippers, and so a lot of guys and gals chipped in the $10 and said, "Yeah, do it. We want to see it." And then some other bright light came up. I think it may have been Joe, I forget, or Camp, and said, for an additional $5, if you shave your beard off, we'll give you another $5. So a bunch of them are in for $15 now because I shaved the beard off too. And so if you missed it last night and still want to participate, you're more than welcome to make a donation to the club, and we're gonna take that money and we're going to apply it towards setting up a Zoom account, so we don't have to reset Zoom meetings every 40 minutes. We can just be on there for up to 24 hours, have a meeting for 24 hours. So that's what we're talking about. And Joe, that apple pie with the crumble on top, yes. It's it's almost like an apple cobbler, but it's a pie. Yeah, I know exactly what you're referring to. And those things, it's a good thing apples are harvested in the fall, because there's nothing better than coming in on a cool evening and smelling that permeating throughout the house, and with cinnamon, and oh man, I'm getting hungry. VE3HIX, Bob.
I don't know. That was me. That's the first time I've been called both a bright light and a smart aleck 2 nights in a row here. But I'm glad I came up with a $5 idea. It looks great on you. Well worth mine anyway. Let's see. The best dessert my mother used to make, it was called rubbernecks. You would take a jam sandwich and cut the crust off, and then cut the sandwich up into small slices, dip it in batter, and then put it into a deep fried fat of some kind, I don't know, oil of some kind, like you would see in the store for fish and chips, and turn it over and so on as it floated. And we did this for years, and it worked out great until one day she forgot to turn it off as we went into a different room to eat, and it caught fire. It did not burn the kitchen down. We could smell it, and everything worked out all right. But after that, the funniest thing, we never had it again. VE3HIX.
Okay, very good. And just out of curiosity, was it a sweet type batter, or was it like a batter like you would have on fish and chips?
She made the batter, and it was a sweet batter as well, so it wasn't crunchy like fish that have been left in the batter too long or anything. But it was quite nice, and you could. Oh yeah, I remember now that she used to sprinkle some of that white powdered sugar over the top as well when she put it on the plates.
Oh, okay, very good. That sounds tasty. So maybe we should, you know what, when this COVID thing breaks, I think our next 6 or 7 club meetings are going to be nothing but cooking. And one night we'll just have a dessert night where everyone brings their favorite dessert. I can't wait to try some of these things. And I'm just looking online trying to get caught up here. I see that Gary Zed is talking about someone called Cliff. Gary, I guess I sort of missed it. But I'm not sure who Cliff is. So maybe you can just type a line or two, and I'll try to catch up here. Maybe it's a friend he's got over. I'm not sure. Maybe someone can enlighten me. But yeah, those sound good, Bob. It's almost like when we used to go camping, one of my cousins used to make something, I think it was called a hobo pie, which is something similar. It was 2 slices of bread, and you'd put whatever you want in the middle, like strawberry jam or blueberry jam or whatever, and then you would put it in a sandwich thing and put it in the fire, like it would squeeze it together. So when it came out, it would be almost like a two triangles, and it would be the bread would all be toasted, and inside would be nothing but ooey gooey goodness. Let's see, Scott, VE3RPN, and Scott, you need to tell me what your favorite meal was as well.
Oh, I was going to say liver there, Laird. Just kidding. You know me too good. VE3RPN to VE3, like yes. Yeah, it's roast beef. And yes, I love nothing but the best Mom used to. She made very few meals. My dad was a great cook, great baker, and he did super homemade soups and dessert. But Mom would do the turkeys and the big stuff, especially the roast beef, and then the shepherd's pie, which I took over. And I'll tell you, when I let the kids try my homemade gravy, like my mom used to make from the roast beef dinner a couple days before, put it in the shepherd's pie, they had no idea what a difference that was. Anyway, sorry about last night. I was near the OPP thing down there in Whitby. And Lex and I kept saying, I got to get you guys to check in, but I can't get them. So next week we're moving. On Monday we're going to be next to our old location near Kendallwood. So there's no excuse I'll get them on there. I don't think, well, I guess Lex doesn't have radio in the vehicle or the house working right now. So we're going to have to talk to that guy. Anyway, thanks a lot there. Over to you there, Laird, VE3RPN.
Okay, very good, Scott. And yeah, a couple things. Number one, if you really do like the haircut and the clean-shaven face, we'll take your money. We'll take your $15 or $10 and apply it towards the club. No problem there. Don't feel bad. We will accept it. And let's see. You mentioned shepherd's pie. Someone else had mentioned shepherd's pie earlier too. And I'm just curious. When my mom made shepherd's pie, she sort of did it with a little twist on it. Her shepherd's pie didn't have the mashed potatoes on top. She would make like a biscuit type stuff, almost like Bisquick, and she would put that on the top. So as it cooked, this biscuit on top would be cooking as well, and it would get to be like a couple of inches thick. So when you were serving the shepherd's pie, not only did you get all the great stew underneath, but you got a chunk of biscuit. And you would take it and turn it over, and the gravy side, you'd slap some butter on that, and you would have that with your meal. Did you have that too, or were you just a plain mashed potatoes guy?
That's funny you mentioned that. Oh, we had the mashed potatoes on the one Mom made, but my grandma did the biscuit bit, and we used the same type biscuit when we'd make the setup when I make my homemade French onion soup, which I absolutely, to this day, still love. But now I'm getting really hungry, and I'm next to eat like Mario's. This ain't fair. I'm going in and see if I can scrounge a bit, maybe beg at the door. And anyway, an extra $5 thrown in will get rid of the chest there, Laird. You might come up with 20. Over to you there, VE3RPN.
Okay, very good. Well, let's see. No, we won't do that right now. We're on YouTube after all. Very good, Scott. And I see that apparently Gary Zed is Cliff. I thought maybe he had someone over that he was indoctrinating into amateur radio tonight. The more the merrier type thing. But yeah, they've nicknamed him Cliff now from Cheers since we've got the bar and grill going. Gary Zed is now Cliff Claiborne from Cheers. Does that make me Norm? Scary thought. Oh, that's all right. Norm was a lovable guy, and I'm about his size, so yeah, I probably put some evil thoughts in people's minds, and everyone's going to be calling me Norm when they check in. Let's see, who's next? VE3IGX Cam, and again, I'm sorry I missed your favorite dinner, but if you just want to give me a quick recap, and then your dessert.
Okay, you're looking great.
Of course.
My favorite meal was the rabbit pie, and she would keep the water that she used to boil the rabbit meat in, and then pour that over the top of the crust to keep it nice and moist. The other thing, my dessert, was the homemade date squares. I could never get enough of them. And this afternoon, I was in Jeff's virtual bar and had a couple of virtual cold ones. I made you out a virtual check, sent it by virtual mail, and I'll be expecting a virtual receipt ASAP. So we'll give it on back to you. VE3LKS, VE3ITX.
Oh, very good. Yes, if anybody wants to send me an e-transfer, you can send it just to my email address, which is VE3LKS, Victor Echo 3 Lima Kilowatt Sierra at yahoo.ca. And I know, I think it was John that needed my cell number as well. So if you need my cell number, let me know, and I'll send that as well. And yeah, very good. Yeah, we'll take your virtual money really quick here, and we'll get our account set up. VE3IRB, and again, I'm sorry I missed your dinner too. So a quick recap, and then on to the dessert.
VE3IRB. For dinner, I always like the homemade soups. One difference when I was a real young kid, sometimes at my great grandmother's, she would make a dumpling and basically pour batter in the top of the soup and serve that with it. For dessert, a more common one was rice pudding, but at Christmas time, the one thing my mom would make that everybody, isn't a great cook, but she would make a Christmas cake. And it was hard as a brick. You could put it in your pocket without wrapping it for anything and go to school or whatever. But it was a really, really hard, thick cake. Very good. Just one solid mass of fruit. Back to you.
Yeah, very good. I like Christmas cake too. Of course, there's not a lot that I don't like, but my mom and my grandmother Laird, yes, I got two last names, but my grandma Laird used to make awesome Christmas cake. It was a dark stuff, and it was the type that was mostly fruit and nuts and hardly any like batter in there type thing. So it's probably sounding a lot like yours was. And it was funny because she would make hers in the summertime for Christmas, and then she would put it down in the cold cellar. And once a month, she would go down there with a bit of brandy or rum and just sort of moisten it up a bit. Well, apparently my grandfather would do the same thing. So the joke in the family was that when you brought the Christmas cake out, you made sure you kept it away from the candles. But it was always good. Of course, the alcohol evaporated. And my mom, of all her sisters, she was the one who picked up on being able how to do that. The other ones couldn't, and so that lived on. The closest one I found so far, and I mean it's almost a dead ringer, is Martha's VA3 SBD. She makes a wicked good Christmas cake as well. And speaking of my grandmother, chicken and dumplings from scratch. Oh my gosh. Anyways, I digress. Ken VE3RMK, take it away.
Yeah, thanks, Laird. I got to say, I'm impressed. Your grandmother making a chicken from scratch sounds really, really inventive. Favorite desserts, I've got far too many to list. Just say that if it's a dessert, it's pretty much one of my favorites. Back to you, Laird.
Oh, okay, very good. I was going to say maybe the top 10, but even then you'd maybe have a hard time figuring out which ones were your top 10. Yes, it is hard to pass up on the dessert table, but it's brought back a lot of good memories tonight. Some of these ones that the guys have come up with, and a lot of fun. Anyways, let's see what's happening on the YouTube channel. I don't know if Jeff's getting too much business there tonight, but I know there's a lot of frivolity, and they're talking about pie irons. That's it. That's the word I was looking for, Joe. It was a pie iron, and that we'd make the hobo sandwiches out of. Anyways, I'm going to take a quick standby and see if anybody else wants to join in on the Rag Chew this evening. Of course, listening to us talk tonight, everyone's probably got hungry and gone off to eat. Anyways, if you'd like to join us, please come now. This is Laird VE3LKS.
VA3
KJI.
Okay, was that VA3 CJI?
Nope, it was VA3 KJI. It's Grant and Bowmanville.
Oh, okay. Okay, very good, Grant. I thought that was you, but I could have sworn it was CJI. Anyways, take it away, Grant. Since you're with us, you can let us know both your dinner that you liked as well as your dessert.
Is this recent or when we were children? Over.
Oh, yeah. When you were kids, when you were growing up, what was your favorite meal to have? And then as well, what was your favorite dessert that, your mom or your aunt or your grandmother would make?
Okay, well, we lived up north. We lived away from all our relatives, so it was all my mom's cooking. And if she was alive, she'd tell you she wasn't the best of cooks. But one of my favorite meals was very, very simple. I called it hamburger gravy.
Oh,
it was some sort of, it wasn't really thick gravy, but it was gravy-ish, and you put, pretty tiny chunks of hamburger all chopped up in it and I put it on boiled potatoes. I thought I died and gone to heaven. And dessert was probably, as simple as Jell-O chocolate pudding, and I used to get the fight, my sisters and I, to get the skim off the top, the thicker stuff, or a chocolate cake, or even bread pudding. I just heard the first guy say that a little while ago, and it's been a long time since I've had bread pudding. Back to you.
Yeah, bread pudding, that's awesome, especially with a bit of fresh cream. Ooh, now we're talking. But that getting back to your entree there, the gravy, the beef gravy. I remember my dad liked that, and the gravy on it really wasn't a gravy. It was just sort of the juices that were thickened up slightly with a bit of cornstarch. At least that's the way my mom made it. So it wasn't like she was adding a lot of flavoring to it, just thickening it up a bit with cornstarch. Is that what you remember as well? Was yours similar?
Well, that's if you were making roast beef. But this stuff was a full dinner. It's just, I can't even remember the word. Basically, you chop the hamburger up as fine as you could and then put gravy in it and right on the potato. But you did remind me, when you mentioned Dad, one of my fondest memories is in the winter, my father and I used to make what we call potato soup. And I still make it to this day. And I picked up another recipe from my wife's aunt. It's called beer bread. It's obviously, as the name says, you don't have to use yeast. You use the yeast from the beer. So you put a can of beer in every loaf, and it's fantastic stuff. It's a bit crunchy. And it's a bit hard, because you put a fair bit of butter in it on the edges crispy. But I've made it in the barbecue. I make it up north. Speaking of which, when we talked last, our trailer park's opening on Monday, so I will be we'll be vacating the premises, so to speak. Over.
Okay, well, let's hope you can reach OSH from the repeater park, because we're going to need nightly updates as to how things are going up there.
Yeah, I don't know. I can get LNZ there a lot better than I can here. Well, actually, I can't get it at all from here with 65 watts even, but I do have we're a bit of a down in the hole there. I can get Peterborough easy because it's a straight shot across the lake, but we'll see what goes on. Yeah, it's pretty restrictive. Like, can't use the beach, can't use the pool, can't use this, can't use that, but I did hear my dock is in, so that means I'll be able to get my boat out of storage, and we'll go social distancing out in the lake, which is what we like to do anyway. Over.
Excellent. Well, I'm glad that's all working out for you guys. Nothing worse than having all that at your fingertips and then not being able to use it. Very good, Grant. Well, thanks for hopping on the radio, and I hope everything will get well with the landscaping crew. And with that, we'll take another call for check-ins. If anyone's out there and would like to add another bean to the pot, now's your opportunity. This is Laird, VE3LKS.
Victor Echo 3, Romeo Whiskey Juliet from Ancaster.
Okay, VE3RWJ. I have you as Chris. Is that correct, Chris?
Yep, that's correct. We're just making the rounds of the various nets, and this repeater is booming in out here. We must have some good conditions going tonight.
Yes, and I think it helps too that Ancaster's sort of up on top of the mountain there, and our repeater's up quite high, so it's got a pretty good line of sight. So most days we should be able to, it should be working fairly good most days. And anyways, welcome to the COVID-19 Rag Show. I think since you're a repeat offender, you know that we always have topics of the night. So our topic of the night too was sort of two-part. When you were growing up, what was the favorite dish that your mom, your aunt, your grandmother made for a main course meal? And following that up with what your favorite dessert was as well, made by maybe your mom, your aunt, or your grandmother. So if you have any comments on that, we're a nosy bunch, so we'd like to hear what you have to say. Hi.
Okay, well, my mom invented one years ago called Poor Man's Beef Wellington that had ground beef in it instead of steak, I guess. Favorite dessert? I don't know. I'm going to go with lemon meringue pie, I think. The 3RWJ.
Yeah, we've had several lemon meringues in there, and that's sort of becoming a lost art nowadays too. A lot of people can make the lemon pie part, but the meringue, it's beginning to become a lost art. They don't teach home ec in schools much anymore, and so the some of this stuff is getting very hard to find. At least you can find them in the stores, but you can't find people that can make them. So interesting. And then to put it in the oven and not burn it and just have it come out with like nice brown tips on it. Oh man, I'm getting hungry again. We talk about food a lot, don't we? Anyways, thanks for joining us this evening, Chris. And I hope everything's going well over in Ancaster. Beautiful hot day over here in Oshawa, and I'm assuming it was probably very similar over there.
Oh yeah, and we enjoy the heat, so we've been getting outside in it. Humidity affects meringue too. It doesn't seem to go up as high when it's really sticky like this. Anyway, won't keep you. We got a couple more nets to get to, but yeah, solid signal. I'd say the repeater's full quieting here. V3RWJ.
Okay, I acknowledge Farney there, and yes, you're also got a beautiful signal coming in, Chris. Just a quick question before you leave: how much power are you running there? Because there's not even a bit of static on your signal.
We're running 50 watts into a Comet GP3, so pretty much the same as a Diamond X50.
Okay, very good. Well, it's doing a wonderful job this evening. And again, thanks for joining us, and have a great time tuning around the band and getting to the other nets. Hope you're able to join us again another evening. We're here every night, every weeknight, Monday to Friday at 7 o'clock for as long as the lockdown continues. And just a way to keep everyone entertained and communicating during this COVID thing. Thanks, Chris. And I think I heard Farney in there. VE3BHQ. Good evening, Farney.
Yes, Larry, and good evening to everybody on the net. And I apologize profusely about forgetting about the meeting Sunday night until it was over. And I realized when it was over, it was just a little bit too late. But I'm getting old, and I guess I've got to accept it. In fact, at the present time, I would like somebody in the club to go up the tower and take a look at my antenna and let me know what's going on. So if somebody wants to do a fast climb that would take about several minutes to go up the tower and about half a minute to check out what I need checking out and another several minutes to come back down, I'd appreciate it greatly. Over.
Okay, Farney, we will put out a call for that. Matter of fact, we'll put one out right now. So if anybody is still in the tower climbing and is able to help Farney out, let me know. As well, Farney, if no one on here tonight is able to do that, I'm sure we can. There's a few other guys in the club that haven't checked in that I could check with, and I'm sure we'll be able to find someone that can climb that tower for you. And the topic of the evening, Farney, was when you were a kid growing up, what was one of the favorite meals that you enjoyed, like your mother made, or one of your aunts or your grandmother? So the first part is, what was your favorite meal that they made, and the second one was, what was your favorite dessert that they made? So you need to fill us in as to what those were.
Well, my mother was an absolute splendid cook, a farmer's wife, and a splendid cook. And I liked just about everything. There were only a couple of things I didn't like. And, one of them was artichokes, and I couldn't figure out what anybody ever saw in artichokes. But there were very few things. But things that I stand out that I really appreciate, we used to have a goose once in a while, and I just loved the way that she cooked goose. And the desserts, she's first prize for all desserts, but I like the apple strudel and apple pies and lemon pies. They were absolutely scrumptious, and along with homemade ice cream. Over.
Alert. Farney just kicked it up a huge notch. Farney, there's been several people on here tonight that mentioned ice cream, but man, you mentioned homemade ice cream. There's probably not a lot of people that even had that, but yes, that really takes it up a notch, Farney. And were you the one that had to sit there and turn the drum while it solidified?
Oh, I took my turn.
Yeah, that was back in the days. I've done it a few times. We actually had one that was a hand crank one, and let me tell you, you get a good workout by the time you get that thing made into ice cream. Trust me, you want to dive into a big dish of it. And just out of curiosity, real maple syrup on top?
Yes, we made our own maple syrup. We tapped trees and made our own maple syrup, and you betcha. And ours had a hand crank on it. There was no electricity. We didn't have electricity until, it was about 1937, I think, when we got electricity. And so I was almost 10 years old by that time. And so I grew up without electricity, and I know all about it. And I could get along just fine without it now, but some other people would go in orbit if they didn't have it. Over.
Yeah, it's amazing how times have changed. That's for sure. Even if you go back 20 years, how many people could live, or you say even 30 years, how many people could live with the technology that we had just 30 years ago? A lot of them probably couldn't, because they're so hooked on their phones and everything else that, they're so used to it that they wouldn't be able to make that adjustment backwards. So very good, Farney. And listen, no worries about the meeting on Sunday night. I think I've got it recorded, actually. I just have to figure out how I can link. It actually chopped it up into 3 different segments because we kept on timing out our 40-minute allowance. But once I figure out how to join them all together, I'll send you a link, and then you can watch the meeting and how it progressed. And let's see. With that being said, I'll take one more call for check-ins, and then I've got an interesting story to tell everybody. This is Laird, VE3LKS.
VE3LKS. This is VE3RTB. If Fernie needs a climber, I don't mind climbing. Tell him to reach out to me.
For some reason, you don't sound like Jeffrey, Robert.
Oops, sorry, IRB. Sorry, I was talking to somebody outside. IRB, sorry, I confused that.
Okay, very good. Yeah, I thought you were volunteering Jeffrey there for a minute. Okay, very good. Did you catch that, Farney?
No, I didn't. Who was it?
It was Robert, VE3IRB, and he actually gets over to Bowmanville quite a bit. So I'll tell you what, I'll send each of you gentlemen an email either later tonight or tomorrow, so you'll have each other's email. And if it's okay with Bob, I'll give you Bob's cell number as well, and you guys can hook up that way.
VE3IRB. You can contact me as convenient. RTB. Back to you.
Okay, that was a horrible transmission that time, Bob. It was in and out, so I really didn't catch what you were saying. Okay, I'll tell you what I'll do, Farney, is I'll email you and Robert, and then you guys will have each other's email, and you can hook up that way. But I do know that Robert goes over to Bowmanville quite a bit, so it's not too much further from there to your place. So very good. It sounds like we have a volunteer, and I think you'll recognize Robert once you see him, and you're in good hands there. And with that, speaking of Robert, this is what this story is about. On our club meeting on Sunday night, I'm just going to drop it here for a second so I don't time out. Yes, on our club meeting on Sunday night, we had hams coming in from all over the place, from Manitoba, all over Ontario, and what it was Brian BAH had put it out on a message board, and so these guys were all interested and they wanted to join us. So we said, sure, why not? We could handle up to 100, and we knew you have that many club members on. But one fella that came in, his call sign was VE3 Foxtrot Uniform. Now I know that sounds odd, okay, but that's what his call sign was. Well, Robert thought, hey, that call sign sounds familiar. So he went digging through a bunch of postcards that he had bought from someone. And in those postcards, I guess there were some QSL cards. And Robert dug out a QSL card from 1936 from someone who had previously had the call sign VE3FU. And so Robert sent it to me. And it was interesting. It got caught up in my spam filter 3 times. I had to go and tell it, no, it's not spam. And before it finally got to my inbox. And then I forwarded on to the ham who had actually came in, except I changed the name of it because I was thinking maybe the letters were giving it away and for spam. I haven't heard back from the gentleman yet, but I sent him a copy of the QSL card. And I'm curious as to whether the previous owner was a relative of his or maybe like someone who was in Elmer. So interesting stories that just make you go, isn't that cool? Anyways, Does anybody have any final comments or questions or anything else for the Rag Chew guys this evening? If so, now's your opportunity. Okay, nothing heard. So with that, I'm going to say 73s, gentlemen. Thank you for joining us this evening. And thank you for all the funds. Farney, if I challenged them that if I cut my hair off last night, if they would all chip in $10 for the club, and a bunch of them agreed to it. And then someone else came up with the idea that I shaved my beard off because I haven't been shaving since I've been home, that they would all throw in another $5. So we made some funds last night for the club, all in good fun. But since we didn't have a ham fest this year, it'll just help the kitty out a bit. Anyways, gentlemen, have a great evening. Thanks for joining us, and look forward to doing it tomorrow night. This is VE3LKS, and I'll be clear.
VE3IRB.
Go ahead, Robert.
I think I doubled on you there. I was just repeating what I'd said. I was at the door. Somebody rang my doorbell. That's why you couldn't hear me very well. And I was talking to a neighbor. But I don't mind climbing for Farney. Farney has my contact information, but feel free to pass it on just so we're sure we've got it. And sounds fun. I'll have shoes, can climb.
I'm still here, Robert.
Okay, give me a call anytime, Farney, and we can make arrangements, and I can come over and take a climb.
Yeah, could I have your phone number?
No problem. My home number is 905-725-6955.